He's 3 law firms on retainer. I don't know how much money is coming in, but I know that a lot of money is going out every single month for Diddy.
Not surprised. You know, we all know who he is and how we get down, so that don't surprise me.
We never expected this day to come, not after years of blurry Havana snapshots, late-night conspiracy whispers, or TikTok sleuths flashing shaky proof. Yet here it lands. Shakur's own brother just cracked open the silence. This isn't some troll post or a recycled meme. Several credible voices swear the family filmed an interview where Malp, calm as ever, picked up the phone and Tupac answered. Not a fuzzy prank call, not a basement radio stunt. Witnesses claim Pac's voice came through steady, alive, clear. He didn't waste time on small talk about Caribbean sunsets or quiet streets in Baez. He said, word for word, that he'd be stepping out soon to testify against the very people who tried to take him down. That line alone flips everything we thought we knew. Is this finally the undeniable proof, the twist ending to hip-hop's most haunting mystery, or just another illusion in a world built on shock and clicks?
The boy Puffy called me, though. Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's,
That's where the spark still burns. For nearly 3 decades, everyone from industry interns to best-selling authors has tried to untangle what truly happened that night in Las Vegas. The image lingers. Shakur, just 25, riding shotgun with Sujay Knight. Minutes after leaving the MGM Grand, gunfire ripped into the black BMW. Sirens wailed, hospital lights flickered, and the city's heartbeat slowed. In the chaos, his mother's grief-stricken words echoed, while the coroner's report and a single grainy photo became gospel for a generation. But questions never died. Why wasn't he wearing the vest he was known to trust? How did no one capture the shooter's face on the Strip's busiest boulevard? The official story never felt airtight. Too many gaps, too much power at stake, too much history brushed aside. And now, decades later, Mopreme Shakur appears in a studio, her careful pauses and veiled expressions hinting at the unthinkable, that the story we've been told all along might not be the truth.
And I just get right on the side of his head and just start talking to him in his ear. Just talking to him.
He never flinches, never lets the mask slip. In that interview, Mopreme's voice stays steady. No cracks, no anger, no show of grief. Just deliberate pauses, as if he's balancing truths buried since childhood. Truths that could carry weight in a courtroom instead of fading in some forgotten comment thread. The leak claims it was Pac's own voice on the other end. And let's stop pretending. What they're calling it is nothing short of a resurrection. The ultimate revelation. He's alive and he's preparing to testify. But testify against who? That's the question that makes this story dangerous. Because if even a sliver of it holds water, there's one powerful figure in America with every reason to fear: Sean Diddy Combs.
That's Puffy's homie. You know what I mean? They have a relationship. They're friendly. They know each other.
Let's stop pretending. Diddy has sat at the center of this storm for decades, sometimes named outright, sometimes whispered in riddles, sometimes flashing jewels in videos while lawyers scrambled behind the curtain. But today, he's caught in his darkest chapter yet, indicted on racketeering, staring down a federal human trafficking trial, stripped of bail, and accused by more than 100 survivors of building an empire on control and exploitation. Just weeks ago, prosecutors admitted in court that one of their star witnesses, known only as Victim 3, disappeared without a trace. The defense is already circling, calling these accounts nothing more than consensual extremes. But prosecutors, Homeland Security, and a wall of federal agents aren't buying it. If the government lands its case, Diddy may never breathe free air again. And in that shadow, the one thing he cannot afford is a headline screaming that Shakur himself is ready to testify.
Keefe D named Diddy 77 times in court documents related to Tupac's
And it isn't just Mopreme raising eyebrows. Again and again, Diddy's name bleeds through sworn interviews, wiretap transcripts, and police files stacked higher than a lawyer's desk. Look at Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, the Compton shot caller now awaiting trial for the Vegas hit. Prosecutors say he confessed not once but multiple times that Diddy put millions on the table to erase Shakur and Suge Knight. Keefe D's story is blunt. After Pac dropped Hit 'Em Up, torching the East Coast and Bad Boys' pride, Diddy snapped. Man, I'll give anything for that dude's head. According to Keefe D, he said it in a room packed with witnesses. No personal check, but the money, he claims, flowed through an associate called Zip, who pocketed the bounty before the shots were fired. Court records show Diddy's name surfacing 47 times in the official transcript. That's not gossip, that's paper ink. Even his die-hard fans, the ones who swore he was untouchable, are starting to hesitate. Because this isn't about platinum plaques anymore. It's about vanished witnesses, coded phone calls, and a judge who's already denied him bail 3 times. Now, in a federal courtroom, Diddy faces a lineup of ex-partners, former employees, and so-called consenting insiders, all painting a picture that feels more like a crime docuseries than a superstar's life story. And as each headline drops, one question cuts louder than the rest. What does Diddy really know about that night in Vegas, and why does he finally look shaken?
I'm quite sure anything I am death row. Suge Knight is death row. So I'm quite sure, before it's said and done, all eyes on me and Machiavelli out of Fox have decade to come back.
Mop, on the other hand, refuses to let the weight crack his calm. The truth is still coming, we'll see, he told Piers Morgan when pressed about Diddy's repeated denials. Not the furious, grieving brother many expected after nearly 3 decades, but a man who guards his words like cards in a high-stakes game. When Morgan pushes harder, do you think Diddy was lying? Mop simply shrugs. Quite possibly. And to me, it's looking that way. You can almost feel the air shift, the tension thickening, the past bleeding suspicion into the present. The Shakur family has never taken Diddy's denials at face value, and now they're putting real weight behind their doubts. They've brought in powerhouse attorney Alec Spiro. Yes, the same Spiro who just cleared Alec Baldwin in the Rust shooting case. With him on board, the family's quiet frustration has turned into a full-blown legal offensive. The hunt for answers isn't just alive, it's accelerating.
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out until 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a half.
So where does it all point? If Cream's call is genuine, then Shakur isn't just hip-hop's most enduring legend. He's the government's newest star witness. Suddenly, all the so-called conspiracy chatter of the 90s, Cuba sightings, body doubles, Machiavelli clues, and mysterious posthumous albums doesn't sound so far-fetched. Michael Nice, the ex-bodyguard who swore he flew Pac to safety, always argued the logic was simple. Why you think nobody locked up the shooters? Because Pac ain't gone. If he was, they'd have charged somebody for murder. Even Suge Knight couldn't resist smirking in an interview. You know, he's somewhere smoking a Cuban cigar on an island. Now, the deeper prosecutors dig, the shakier the ground beneath Diddy becomes. And if street rules still apply, the math is clear. Everyone has a price, a fear, or a reason to flip. Keefe D, boxed in a cell, already proved he'll confess when it suits him. Retired detectives say the timing isn't random. Once the cuffs go on, tongues start wagging. Even the FBI's former field chief, Phil Carson, admitted the overlap between Diddy's present charges and Pac's old case may be no accident. As soon as someone's cuffed, they'll sell out their own mother. And if that's the climate, and if the Shakur family truly has Pac alive on speed dial, we may be days from a courtroom showdown capable of toppling reputations, shattering careers, and maybe collapsing entire empires.
Part of the indictment, that's almost like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
Everywhere you turn, new fragments spill out. Court TV insiders whisper that the Shakur family has uncovered leads the Las Vegas detectives overlooked for decades. Diddy, meanwhile, dismisses every homicide allegation as flat-out absurd. Yet his name refuses to disappear, surfacing in sworn transcripts, true crime documentaries, and even the memoirs of men who claim they sat in the car that night. One retired detective put it bluntly, "It's the worst kept secret in Compton." And still, no one has dared to stand in open court and say it out loud. At least, not yet.
Your own platform. He said this on your platform that he put up $1 million to get Pac in.
Yeah, correct. He was around Puffy and Puffy made a come.
Meanwhile, Diddy's empire keeps collapsing inward. Federal agents have already raided 2 of his mansions. His own chief of staff now likened to Ghislaine Maxwell, under fire for allegedly orchestrating his notorious parties. New lawsuits drop like clockwork. Old allies and industry insiders suddenly can't wait to talk. Even the family of the notorious B.I.G., murdered just months after Shakur, are watching closely. The timeline has never been more tangled, the stakes never more dangerous, and now comes the boldest play yet. The Shakur family's legal team, led by Alex Spiro, is reportedly preparing subpoenas, wrongful death claims, and a full push to drag the bloody East Coast-West Coast feud of the 1990s into federal court in 2025. Spiro, the same attorney defending New York City's scandal-plagued mayor, is not known for losing. The tension is thick. Prosecutors, defense lawyers, fans, critics, and even the diehards who still swear Pac is drinking rum in Havana are bracing for the next detonation.
Keisha, I'm not going to live, past a certain time, or, I know I'm going to get shot up. He knew that. That was the one thing that he did.
Officially, no one's saying a word. Not Diddy's lawyers, not Las Vegas detectives, not the US Attorney's Office, not even Mop. But the whispers are spilling over. Behind locked doors, the Shakur family's investigators chase witnesses, trace bank wires, and retrace every step from the Vegas Strip to the Caribbean. Even the so-called conspiracy theories don't sound so far-fetched anymore. The posthumous albums, the Machiavelli clues, the sloppy coroner's report, every breadcrumb keeping a 3-decade fire alive. The question no one wants to ask outright is the most haunting of all. If Shakur is alive, what's kept him in the shadows? Fear of retaliation? A deal with federal agents? Or the longest game in music history, waiting for the perfect moment to flip the board? What's certain is this: Diddy, once the king of radio and platinum charts, now rules over nothing but tense glances inside a courtroom. Legal analysts agree, if even part of these new claims stick, he's facing a sentence that outlasts his entire discography. And if Shakur himself takes the stand, everything changes.
Now, why was he calling me?
Mop's interview is said to be dropping any day now. The family's legal team is quietly moving pieces behind the curtain, while whispers from inside Diddy's camp suggest his inner circle is fracturing. Some even claim backroom deals are being cut to keep certain names off subpoenas. But the Shakur family shows no signs of retreat. This is the crossroads, where myth slams into reality and the question becomes unavoidable. Why is Diddy, once untouchable, suddenly terrified to blink? Could this be the unraveling, the final act that reveals who's really been pulling the strings? And still, the question echoes through late-night barbershops and every corner of the internet. If Shakur really picked up that phone, where has he been? The trail leads to Havana's sunburned streets, where the story shifts from possible to cinematic. Some insist Shakur struck a desperate bargain at the edge of life and fame, one that went far beyond a doctored autopsy or a few loyal insiders. According to the old theory, Fidel Castro himself granted him sanctuary in exchange for absolute silence. No press, no music, no threats to the regime. Just a ghost among the living, protected by the same system that shielded fugitives and political exiles for decades. And there's a detail skeptics can't dismiss. Shakur's aunt, Assata Shakur, has lived openly in Cuba since the 1980s, under political asylum, untouchable despite relentless US pressure. If anyone in the family understood how to disappear, it was her. The idea that Tupac used the same underground network suddenly feels less like fantasy and more like logistics. Over the years, multiple sources, from ex-bodyguard Michael Nice to shadowy US officials, have painted the same outline: decoys, body switches, and a midnight escape flight. Barbados first, then Havana, with trusted Black Panther loyalists smoothing the way. The man who once roared his truth to packed arenas now moving quietly among Cuban locals, always just beyond the camera's frame.
Chaotic. It's hard to actually figure out what's what, but it's becoming clearer. It's becoming clearer and clearer, but
if true, that life would be a lonely one. The cost of survival, silence, decades of watching the world argue over your fate, your friends' betrayals, and your enemies' triumphs. Every so often, a grainy photo or a Havana taxi driver's story surfaces. A man who moved like Shakur, a flash of a gold chain in the Caribbean sun. But each glimpse vanishes as quickly as it appears. Whispers say he still records in hidden studios. His voice passed through the underground on bootleg tracks. Yet no proof sticks, no evidence, no confirmation from Cuban officials, no word from his family. And that silence only feeds the legend. Was exile the only way to escape an industry where loyalty could get you killed? Maybe it would have stayed tabloid lore, a ghost story in hip-hop history, if not for the timing of Diddy's spectacular collapse. The same month Mop's rumoured interview is set to drop, Diddy's empire is in flames. And it's not just the racketeering charges or the tidal wave of lawsuits, it's the chilling possibility that everything connects. The old tale of Diddy offering a multi-million-dollar bounty for Shakur's head, once dismissed as gangster fantasy, is now echoed in sworn testimony and court records. The very men tied to that Vegas drive-by whisper the same details prosecutors now chase. Determined to shatter decades of silence, they follow the money trail, the paranoia, the feud that turned coast into a battlefield. And as Diddy's lawyers fight to keep witnesses off the stand, the threat hangs heavy. One phone call, whether captured or not, could blow open a conspiracy already fraying at the edges.
it sort of seems like, they're trying to minimalize it to just gain.
If Shakur emerges now, the fallout would be nuclear. Diddy's career isn't the only thing on the chopping block. His freedom, his fortune, and his legacy all dangle by a thread. But he's not the only one with reason to sweat. If there was a cover-up, if hush money and hidden alliances shielded more than one mogul, then the entire top tier of hip-hop could be at risk. This is bigger than one feud or one headline. It's the possible collapse of reputations and power structures that have reigned untouchable for decades. The silence that once protected them and may have kept Shakur hidden now feels ready to explode. And the question everyone avoids asking, has a decades-long conspiracy finally reached its breaking point? Lawyers scramble, old allies go dark. Investigators tug at every frayed thread. But what happens if Shakur actually testifies? If the government shields him, or worse, uses him as leverage? Would the old players risk everything to silence him again, even now? Has Shakur's very survival become the deadliest threat to those who built their empires in his shadow? The paranoia is suffocating. Every insider, every veteran of the industry waits for the next leak, the next photo, the next witness, wondering if it will be the spark that brings the whole tower crashing down.
So they was placed to destroy the East Coast rap. And then along came a somebody. They was about to bring East Coast rap back. And there's nothing they could do about it. And this kid was finna put
With Mop's interview only days from release and Diddy's trial ripping open old wounds coast to coast, this feels like the crossroads, where legends are either reborn or finally buried. Will we see Shakur himself, older but unbroken, step into the light for one final statement? Or will powerful hands shove the truth back underground just as it surfaces? Every rumor, every leak, every sudden legal twist, it's all starting to sound like the drum roll before the storm. So here's the question. If Shakur is really out there watching this unfold, is he safe? Or has the greatest disappearing act in music history come full circle, with the world's most dangerous secrets ready to detonate? Tell us your take in the comments. Are you team Pac lives, or do you believe this is the last gasp of hip-hop's greatest mystery? Don't forget to subscribe and stay locked in, because the next chapter of this saga is coming fast. Until then, stay sharp, stay curious, and never forget, in the world of celebrity secrets, nothing stays buried forever.